Welcome to the Mycelium Network podcast, a podcast all about early stage web developers and the mentors and teachers that help them along the way. Hey, Alex, and welcome to the Mycelium Network podcast.
Hi, glad to be here.
Glad to have you. So, as you've heard, because you've just told me that you've listened to quite a couple of the episodes already, which I appreciate very much. I don't give a whole talk at the beginning. I give it over to you because you know you more than I do, and I'd want to learn more about you. So please go ahead and tell us more about yourself, your background, how you came to be where you are today, and anything else you'd like to share with us.
Sure. I am originally from Italy, but I am living in Czech Republic right now. My wife is Czech as well. So I have lots of backgrounds. Say my English is not perfect as well, so you can find lots of mistakes. But anyway, I'm trying to improve somehow. Anyway, like my experience, I'm a developer right now, like a web developer. I'm working with JavaScript, mostly like 99% at the moment with React. However, I have some full stack background working with Node.js as well. However, it was not always like that. I started my developer journey, it was like 4 years ago, 4 years ago, like that. Before I had quite many experiences, not related to tech at all. However, I reconnected somehow to my previous high school, previous high school experience. After when I started high school, I was like 14, 15 or something like that. And I started this high school, which was having a scientific experimental background at the time. That we are talking about 20 years ago, or something like that. So experimental, that means that at the time we were working, it was already like quite advanced, but some C++ stuff as well. I started actually having some experiments in after primary school with QBasics, but was like really like a very few things. I was very little as well. Basically, they were the teachers like showing us what we can do. And then in high school, we had something in C++, but that got until the point of like, I don't know, like drawing shapes with vectors or something like that. And it didn't go any further because there was not much time, and well, it was quite complicated anyway. Then I started to be passionate about it actually at the time, and I bought some books. Internet was kind of limited at the time, so there were some resources, but not that much. Google was not existing, I think, just yet. So blogging not even like by any means. There were some apps, but anyway, books were the way to go. So I bought one book on C++, and I got so scared, like when I got to the points of pointers, where pun was not intended, but there it is. And then basically I kind of dropped it. I had like some books on what was that called, Delphi as well, but yeah, like it didn't go through much more than that. That was when I was 17, 18, and then my mind changed, like because of teenager things, I guess. Hormones change. So I completely dropped scientific studies, and I decided to direct my attention and willingness to learn on humanistic studies. And so I kind of finished almost the bare minimum. Well, it was not the bare minimum, but like kind of little more than bare minimum of the high school to pass it. So I passed it, and then I started university in philology and literature, which is kind of completely going the other way around. I have to say that, well, it was kind of for me more normal, say, because I was going very bad in scientific subjects and very good in humanistic subjects. So it was a continuation, like on my path. Yeah, that's my first part of the story and the last one. So what happened? What happened in the middle is that I finished my first part of the university. University in Italy is mostly divided in two parts: a 3 years bachelor degree, and then there is 2 years called specialization or something like that. So it's basically 5 years, but divided in a 3+2 program. So I did a 3 years of philology. Then I kind of understood that, well, it's kind of useless. So for me, so for finding some jobs, because basically the only way to go through it on the career were by being a teacher and researcher, but it was like maybe 2 positions in whole Italy, and these kind of faculties in Italy are like super overcrowded. There are free access, so only my faculty in Bologna, there were like 1,000 students just for that. So most of the students were going through basically teaching afterwards, but I didn't want to go at the time to that. So I started, okay, like my second passion now is journalism. So I found something about that. So I did it was not 2 years completely. It was a private master degree, but it was lasting 1.5 years or something like that. It was about investigative journalism. I enjoyed it a lot as well. However, the job market was like, basically it was going to be freelance, but also the journalism in Italy, the field is kind of quite complicated. It was complicated before, and it is even more now, I think. In the meantime, I basically, after I finished my studies in journalism, I was trying to understand what to do with my life, with the rest of my life. I decided, for many reasons, basically, it happens that I went to South America, to Colombia. And then there, basically, I said, okay, let's find something to work here, because maybe there is more possibility than in Italy at the moment. Job market in Italy is kind of difficult. It's kind of okay-ish if you get some degree in some chemistry or some scientific field or something like that. Even as a programmer, it's very difficult to access any kind of programming jobs if you don't have a computer science degree, or almost impossible, basically, because there is this kind of mentality. So anyway, I was not interested into that. I had some side ups here and there. I went to Canada for almost a year, meanwhile, doing painting and working as a waiter and so on, but it was just a parenthesis. And in Colombia, I started working as a teacher, English teacher in the beginning, and then, Italian teacher in the beginning, then English teacher. No, my English dropped a lot, since then, because I'm being not teacher anymore, and also working in a not English speaking country is my level is kind of getting down more and more. However, I started doing that, and then I continued in a language school, doing basically being a sales representative of the school. I did that for a couple of years, and meanwhile I was sometimes teaching still. And then I was academic coordinator of the school, so I did all the basically career ladder of the language school. And then the school, basically there was some problems among the associates of the school, so it's basically I don't know how to call it, but it split in two. So one branch of the school went one way, and the other one went another way, and they created another school. So they asked me to be academic director, so I said yes. So I was there working for 6 months, 8 months, I don't remember. Meanwhile, I got married in all this time, and my wife came to Colombia, and there were too many expenses. with the visa and everything like that. The salary was kind of not so good to cover all the expenses. I enjoyed it a lot. Living there really a lot. However, for many reasons, like we decided to come back to Europe. So went back to Italy, to my parents' house for a few months. I sent maybe, I don't know how many, hundreds, some 100 or more CVs, like resumes, like all around the companies. And I got maybe 5 replies for that, including the cover letters and everything. So I said, okay. um, so he said, yeah, okay. So with my wife said, okay, let's try Czech Republic. And I said, okay, let's try some. I don't have like such thing. Like IT was already like a big growing thing in Czech Republic already then. That was like 8-9 years ago. However, I said like, okay, I don't have like so much background because I really don't remember really anything about programming or anything like that. So I do have like technical background. I know how routers work or these things. Like, so I applied for service desk positions, and there were quite many here in Czech Republic because there are lower taxes than other countries like Germany or Austria or something like that. So also lower salaries, lower taxes. So many companies are opening call center and service desk here, and in Poland and Hungary, but also here. So yeah, I started in IBM as a service desk. And well, actually, yes, I did the interview like before I applied remotely already. Like it was pre-COVID, but there was already this thing. I did an interview by phone in Italy, and after a few rounds, like one interview and one technical round by phone, but it was kind of not the difficult. They gave you the materials to study beforehand, so it was good. They were just like more testing how you were checking how you're behaving, like for clients and so on. Anyway, I got accepted, so we packed and we went to Brno, basically here where I live. Brno is a small city. It's like 500,000 people in Czech Republic. It's the second biggest one, but it's 500,000 people anyway. So yeah, I started working in IBM as a service desk. It was already like kind of a little more difficult on a psychological level because, I mean, service desk is already kind of challenging. My work was not 100% service desk. There were some who were like kind of incident management roles in the middle as well. So it was not that stressful as other full 100% service desk, but I had my shares. But because of that, it was so-called out of office hours. So I was working in shifts, like I don't remember how it was that, but it was 5 or 4 days day shift, and then 4 days off, and then I was having 4 days night shifts. Meaning that from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. or something like that, or was 7, I don't really remember now. So I can't say like so much about nightlife in IBM life. But anyway, we were doing our jobs somehow, and there were like lots of dead time anyway, dead time, meaning that there were basically nothing, there was almost nothing to do, say from 8 p.m. or no, say 10 p.m. until 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. So after a while, you get bored, you don't know what to do, basically. So I started studying, okay, let's find something more interesting, like to do. I was having I was checking like some ticket description here and there. It was something about SQL or SQL. I pronounce SQL. I like it like this. And so I started studying SQL. I don't remember where. I think it was W3 or something, some resources like that. I didn't know anything about programming anymore. I didn't really it didn't came to my mind. I think maybe once like I was checking something about C++ again, but I dropped it like immediately because I was getting scared again. So I said, okay, let's study some SQL, and eventually it was not that difficult. But yeah, I tried that. I did some exercises here and there. I studied something else. Oh yes, I was doing some Unix stuff. So I was studying some shell scripting, and yeah, after 1 year and a half, more or less, which was kind of too much time in retrospective, I started applying to some other jobs because there was no real like a career ladder, so called, or interesting career ladder for me in IBM at the time. So yeah, I applied for some jobs, and after a few applications, actually, I got it. I got the interview for one, and I did the technical test. It was more like a normal technical test. For it was also, yes, it was a shell scripting, and it was like SQL, yes, and it was a position about application support, level so-called 1.5, meaning that was between service desk and level 2, which was like more advanced stuff, which I did afterwards. So they were requiring some kind of, service desk management plus some basic skills to run some scripts and to run some updates in database and this stuff. Nothing super complicated. But anyway, I got the job. I have to say that one thing that they convinced me. No, I convinced them because one of the reasons I convinced them was that IBM gave me lots of procedural stuff in my background, basically. So I knew a lot about bureaucracy and how procedures worked because I didn't know anything about it beforehand, before IBM. So I did that also in out of office hours, so also night shifts. But I did for that for 6 months, and after that I started to having some as well, like tiredness on doing this kind of shifts because it's kind of complicated. I was managing like better than other people because some people like after 1-2 months they don't manage anymore, but still like after 2 years it was kind of like too much as well for me. So anyway, I was also in the night shifts. There was more work than because I was working for different time zones, basically spanning Asia and Europe and Americas. So there was always something to do. However, I did have some free time, so I was studying a little more to get promoted as well, which I did eventually after 6 months. They promoted me to level 2, and they gave me basically. It was kind of called application support level 2, then application support maintenance, then it was called application support engineer. It was having like so many names one after the other one, but it was the same job basically all the time. However, then I started like learning many more things. We were doing many jobs, many kind of works. Say we were doing deployments through the pipelines. We were doing more or less like investigation of logs in case of bugs. We were checking the database, running queries, doing updates. Basically everything that the developers didn't do, we were doing it. So there was some separation between us and the developers, which were called level 3 above us. So the developers didn't investigate. We investigated the issues because there were enough people, so we could maintain a certain different layers. Also, we were having the calls with the clients and everything like that, and the developers usually didn't accept for maybe pre-release something, so checking the release notes and so on, and some CAB like change approval boards or whatever like this. So that was did that for it was I don't remember how long, 2-3 years I think. It was almost 3 years, yes. It was until COVID hit basically. But before that, like meanwhile, we were having some say free space to develop our own pet projects related to work. he had a great team. Like I have to say, like also my team leader, he had like a super great skills, and like in every kind of, it was having like a very great technical skills and soft skills. He was really having a good analytical minds. It was really pushing us to being creative and having an investigative mind. So it gave us like the opportunity to have these pet projects, and the first one I did maybe was in Shell. I think I don't really remember actually now. And then I started for the second year. I think I started basically starting learning JavaScript. I don't remember exactly how I came to it, but I don't know. Must be something natural. I don't know. And sorry, take some water. And I was starting learning in Udemy. I bought some courses. This Cold Steel course at the time. It was much less refined than it is now, but it gave me like lots of knowledge on the back end and the front end. It was just plain JavaScript with it was EGS, I think, as a template engine or something like that. The React was I think still in the, it was not the early phases, but kind of in the middle, because it was kind of 5 years ago or 6 years ago. So just class components, but they were like I don't know. I think I didn't touch React in the beginning at all. I was trying to understand how JavaScript just was working, and that's it. The course was great anyway. It gave me lots of knowledge. So after that, I started to do Free Code Camp, because at the time it started Free Code Camp as well. I enjoyed it a lot as well. And I started learning the basics and everything. I did all the exercises until the React exercises. Then I stopped because I didn't manage to do that. Like it was like I don't know. It got blocked basically there. I did exercises, but the projects, the final projects, I didn't manage. I couldn't understand how it eventually was working. It was much difference between the single lessons with they gave you basically the direction where to go and how to build a full like application like that. Anyway, so I said, okay, let's build something in JavaScript plain and using this AGS. So I made a deployment. Yeah, it was a deployment tool which was using some shell scripts in the background. As basically it was just a simple front end with simple CSS, quite ugly actually, with just a few buttons and so on. But it was allowing to upload a file to the server that we had inside the company using the SSH keys. And with another button, we're choosing the environment. Another button was choosing some other variables. And basically with a push button, it was sending the parameters to the shell script. And it was just running the shell script. It was deploying. And then after that, it was visualizing some logs, pulling the text file from the server, basically. So I was very happy about it. It worked, and I was like, wow, it worked. And that was very important for my future search for job, actually, because I pushed the code on, I pushed the code on GitHub. I had the code on GitHub, actually, without, of course, the secrets or anything like that, but just like the normal code. So I did that, and our deployment experience, like for that kind of service, actually dropped from, the time experience dropped for like it was needing maybe 40 minutes or something like that with human errors and so on to 5 minutes. So everybody was super happy about it. And then the second pet project on the third last year I did, there was a React application using, of course, class components, using some React portal. Trying to it was a portal eventually, like trying to put together all the pet projects applications that all the members of the team did until that point, because some people did them in PHP, some other people did them in JavaScript, and there was one guy in Python as well. So that was interesting, but it was very simple, more simple application, like but it was good for me to learn something about React. It was not that much, but it was good. I didn't understand like that much, but it was good. And then what happened? Then happened that we COVID started to hit, and it was just 2010. I don't remember if it was just then or some months before that. I decided to go as a developer, but nothing about related about the job itself. I liked the job, but I told my manager that I wanted to, to become a developer. So he said, "Okay, yeah, go ahead. Like, of course, do whatever you like." and and they gave me like also some good reference on LinkedIn. So I started applying for jobs. Here in Brno, there was not much about remote working. I mean, there was something about remote working, but it was for very, very, very senior developers. So I said, okay, well, cannot do that. So I applied for the jobs here in the area of Brno, but Brno is a small city. So also, luckily, like there is a lot of tech companies. So there were kind of some companies that I could apply with. And so I got started having some interviews, and the first interviews was kind of, I don't mention the company now, but I applied for a normal JavaScript developer position, and I did the interview, and I came to the room, and they said, okay, here there is the problem, can you do the code in Java? I said, what? Why? Like, I'm here for a JavaScript position, like, not Java.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, they were developers. And I said, oh, really? Oops. Okay. And then the recruiters told us that it was Java position, but okay, let's do some pseudocode. Like, don't bother about the code itself. It was an interesting problem, but like it was my first coding interview, and it was really like complex for my time there. So I completely bombed it. But I didn't feel so good, so bad, because okay, they mistaken the language anyway, so it's okay. Anyway, they gave me some feedback as well. They said, okay, like you have good reasoning, but you could apply maybe in 1 year or something like that. They said, yeah, okay, we're not gonna wait for that for 1 year to apply. So I did more. I sent more resumes and so on. And mostly I was doing some side projects. I was doing some live coding interviews, and I had many experiences on that. I learned after that. I learned that the side projects actually were the most enjoyable one for me, because I was really enjoying them a lot. Also, it was taking time. I have to say that in the meanwhile, not only COVID hit, but my son was born as well. So it was like it was having maybe I don't know 6 months at the time or something like that. So it was kind of I was already a lot sleep deprived a lot. Didn't have much sleep like on my hand, and I didn't have much time. But luckily, like my wife was taking care of him, allowing me to do the interviews and the take home projects and everything like that. So so I could manage doing that, and every take home project I was learning something more, and luckily had say a good 75% of the companies were giving me some technical feedback. I did some code take home that I really had no clue about, so I just tried that, and they were giving still some feedback, so it was good. And eventually, I found this company which gave me as well a side home project. I didn't pass any of the live technical interviews because I was like too panicked, and my like strength in algorithms was not that good. Maybe it's not even now, but at least it was not. That was even worse now before. So it was an interesting study project about creating. Actually, it was a very good experience there, because that is kind of, I wrote in my blog post as well, because I think it's very helpful for people coming to tech or to developing now. I did the project, and it was about some application about movies, because it was a company working with music and streaming and something like that. So the project was good. I did that with my limited knowledge, of course. But it was like a full, React application, and I didn't have any backend, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I didn't have any. I have to say that I exercised my backend skills in my using my previous personal page. I basically used the Cold Steel course to make like a simulacros of my webpage, doing some front end in EGS, and then I had the backend in Node.js with MongoDB, and I implemented as well a text editor into it, which was updating database and everything like that. So basically you could publish with authorization and everything like that, a blog post, and modify it and edit it and so on and so forth. That was on GitHub as well, along with the pet projects for my previous company. And anyway, back to the interview. I did that project, and it was basically rejected, and they gave me like a good number of points in which the reason why they rejected it from the position. And then what happened is that I don't remember the reason why I did that, but I think obstination maybe or something like that. But I took the liberty of working on the project again and implementing it and implementing with the suggestion that they had. And I don't remember if I did some more improvement or not now. But anyway, I sent it back just to check them out. Like I say, I didn't have any like reason. Please check it and hire me or something like that. No, I said okay. I just took the improvement that you gave me, and I don't know, just check it if it's okay from this point of view. And I don't remember how much time passed after that, but eventually, after maybe it was 1 week or something like that, I didn't have any response. But after 1 week, I was not expecting anything, but I got the email that they wanted to have an interview, a following up interview with me and the developers themselves. And I was super jumping from joy and so on. It was like super happy. So yeah, and the guys were super accommodating and very easygoing, and they were asking questions about the project. They were impressed by my second try. So I said, this, of course, is not something that usually people do. And they checked my GitHub repos, and they said, okay, actually we are now looking for somebody with some backend position, with some backend skills as well. So we checked your GitHub, and I saw that we saw that you built this website like in Node.js with this and that, this feature. So can you talk about it? So I was talking, of course, about it. So yeah, eventually, long story short, basically they hired me, and I was very happy. And the project, basically, I tried. Now, also the reasons, I don't remember if I read about it at somewhere or just I did it by I don't know, intuition. But I asked them beforehand, before starting a job, like 1 month or even more before, what technologies I should learn, like to start the job, or what kind of project are you working on, and so on and so forth. So they told me, yeah, you we're working on TypeScript now, and this and that. I don't remember now. So I started basically converting my other applications in TypeScript to learn about it. And I was pushing to GitHub or something, and I was sending them to them and so on, and they were giving some feedback. That was not that much, but a couple of times we did that in the previous month and a half. So when I came to work on the first day, third day, say after the setups and so on, they gave me basically already things to work on, and they didn't have to, there was no Scrum or Agile at the time in that company, on the team at least. So I didn't have to go through learning all the things there. They were just like 2 developers and me and 1 manager and the client, and that's it. So it was like, okay, can you do that? And just ask me in case like you're stuck or something. So I started my junior position there, like, so was very happy. It was lots of stuff to learn, but they gave me the space to do that. And after a while, I don't remember how long, they told me, okay, now we will start working on the big project. So we have this repository, the whole repository, and we need you to convert it from JavaScript to TypeScript, everything, all the repos. I said, okay, like my knowledge is kind of limited, but slowly, maybe I can do that. Of course, I didn't have any, structured knowledge how to do that. So it was just going, okay, 1 page at a time, slowly. And anyway, they asked me, I was asking them from time to time what to do, not what. And I learned really like maybe 70% of what I learn now, what I know now about developing, I learned there, I think, because this was giving me the foundations on how to do the things. My tech lead at the time, one of the 2 other guys, was giving me really great knowledge. It was giving like lots of comments. I think one PR that I opened had, I don't remember, it was like 40 or 50 comments on it or something. So it was like a huge, like, I thought it was doing a good job, and then I was like having 40 comments, like, modify this could be done better, this could be done the other way. But eventually, like, after all the time that I was working there, after 6 months, like, the comments were starting to go, lower and lower, in number. So I was seeing that I was improving at least a little. But it was great. It was a great school to learn because it was giving really good knowledge, and I sometimes had to like scrap everything that I've done and do it totally another way, which was of course better. But it was good because sometimes it took my advisement as well, and so it was not all lost anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. There were lots of technologies there. Not lots of technologies. There were some front end, but it was like mostly still in class components, although hooks came out already. And mostly it was like backend work. 90% was backend work. And there were some serverless work as well. There was some integration with AWS, but unfortunately I didn't manage to touch it too much. I was eager to do that, but the work was always going to some other developers. So I was in my little thing. So what happened is that after 6 months or so, the feature, there were some blocks along the way. The client was not really timing. The clients were testing everything. We didn't test anything, and they were doing by their own time. So sometimes the things got stuck. Sometimes the things got changed. Sometimes it was getting a little frustrating because it was getting more and more like that. And they were also like the project was kind of almost done, so there were not at the time big features to be built upon. And I was feeling that my skills were getting a little stuck. I could learn something here and there but also like I was not coding many new things anymore. So I said, okay, like to myself, I said, okay, like I feel I have to grow. And I think that there were no really like, there were other teams, of course, inside the company, but because of many things, I decided like to try to change company, something new. And but I didn't actually was looking for a job just yet. I was just working, I said, thinking about it, right? And then on Twitter, somebody wrote that we have this remote company, which actually was by coincidence in Czech Republic, that is looking for developers, like I don't remember if we were just general developers, JavaScript developers or something like that. And yeah, so I said, I just inquired with him, like I was not really like expecting anything, but inquired with him, and he gave me the contact of the recruiter at the time, the company, and she contacted me, and we arranged an interview for the next days, basically, which went fine, went good, and they gave me also a take-home project, which was interesting. It was this build the game of life thing. So having this this basically you have basically to write some functions by which you have some cells or well, can be pixels or just part of like cells of an array, say, and you have to build a logic by which the cells are growing, or if they get together or they die after a while, and so on and so forth. So I did that project, and to my surprise, I did it quite quickly. Actually, I was not expecting that. And I did all the things around it. So, like the side hustle, say, writing some tests, writing some linting scripts, writing some how to call it, some hooks, some pre-commit hooks, like just to see how it was working. And I was really like making like a good README, like to making how the application was working, how the tests were working, how the structure of the program was. Actually, that I did that as well on when I was started applying for the junior dev, because I also like don't remember how that I think I read somewhere somebody talking about it. But this helped me a lot to get the junior dev position, because they were very happy that they could run the application without issues on the first run. It was including Docker as well. I was including Docker the application that my first side home project. So there was some commands to run, and that's it. So it was working fine with the README. So I did the take home for this new company, and yeah, they liked me, and I did it was the second round after the take home. So they kind of grilled me on the interview. They asked me a lot of very difficult questions, technical questions about the project, about normal kind of computer science project knowledge, which some I did have, some I didn't have, and yeah, basically I was grilled but they told me in the beginning like this would be a very stressful interview, so be prepared for that. But they were friendly, but they were asking one question after the other one, and yeah. So I finished the interview, and I said, okay, totally I busted it, because like there is no way that I passed that thing. But eventually, no. After actually 1 hour or something, actually the guys called me, and they said me that they liked me a lot. It was more an interview how I was reacting on my stress management and reacting to teams, to the team, how they were like asking the questions, and how I was answering to them. Because they said also like there is not everybody also here like knows all the answers to the questions anyway. So I said okay. So that's the actual company I'm working for now. Moravio is it's a small company. Actually, it's a kind of an agency, but they have some in projects, but mostly outbound projects. And yeah, that's where I am now. I'm working with them for 1 year and a half, more or less, maybe a little more.
Huh.
Yeah, that's my long.
That is super interesting to just sit back and listen to somebody tell their own story. And wow, it is quite the story. You've been to many places. You've done a heck of a lot of things. It's super interesting. So I have obviously a ton of things that I'd like to ask. Let me think where to begin. So I think one of the things that was interesting to me, and I've talked about this with other folks as well on the podcast and off. It seems like one of the things that was really key to your success later on in your career was this idea of creating side projects and doing it in the open where people can then see it. And so when you apply, people already have an idea of what you've done. And then also not being taken aback if somebody says no, but taking the feedback, applying the feedback, and then saying, you know what, can you just have a look again at this? That's really interesting. Is this something that you just naturally have always done in your life? To just, essentially keep moving forward no matter the things that happen?
It can be. Let me see. In my past, say I maybe not consciously, maybe, but actually it was not the only time, but I did it very few times. That thing. There were some projects, aside take home projects, in which I really got some feedback, but I was not really feeling confident that I could add anything to it, because I said, okay, this is too advanced for me, so I cannot really do anything about it. But this one was at my grasp somehow, so I said, okay, let's just insist. But in the past, let me see. Well, the thing is that a normal other, how to say, in other works, other jobs that I've done, I didn't have anyway the possibility to do that, because even the previous work as application support, I did a technical test in the spot, but on paper, but there was no okay, there was an immediate feedback, okay, this one is correct, this one is wrong, this one is correct, this one is wrong, and that's why. But that's it. It couldn't really call back and say, can I try again? Once you bomb it, you bomb it. That's it. So it was the first time that I did have this possibility, actually. Let's say that maybe the time that I passed as a teacher and then as a sales representative for the language school gave me definitely the insisting pattern that I developed, maybe on how to do that. Maybe some of the skills came from my university, because I studied lots of rhetoric as well. So I learned how to paraphrase things, say things in different ways. And that's one thing. Maybe that's one skill that I get from there. Then that was helpful as well as teaching, because you have to improvise sometimes, and the skill set is good, but you don't know really everything. Especially when I was teaching English, I didn't have 100% knowledge of. It was not my mother tongue. So I had to improvise to do other ways, and so then working with students and with clients like this, it often gave me maybe the skill, I don't know, to push a little more than other people wouldn't do. It takes a little of not being shy. I'm definitely not an extrovert. I'm more a way more introvert, but I'm taking it as not personally. I'm taking it as kind of acting somehow, in a detached way. Okay, I have to do it, so I will do it. Just I will not be so much involved psychologically. I will just try it, and if it goes well, it goes well. Otherwise, it doesn't matter, basically. So I learned that, and of course, one other thing that I developed maybe in IBM was, of course, as a service desk, the soft skills, a lot of soft skills and patience on how to. I had them a lot already from the previous jobs, but when you work in service desk, is maybe even more. with the clients. So that gave me like all this combination. I think all the combinations of the things here and there gave me the knowledge to get to where I am now.
So you write quite a lot about testing and specifically using the React testing library. What is your general approach to writing tests for a project?
Yeah, that's a good question. I am quite maybe new to the library. I'm using it since I started this last project that I'm working with. So that means past year and some months. Because beforehand I had other projects, but tests were kind of not considered almost at all. So I never really I never went into it before this project. We inherited basically a project from another company, and we had to rewrite many things and at the same time developing new features. And there were some tests working already on it using Jest, and there was nothing about the React testing library at all. So they were more like kind of unit tests, like they were on the Redux funcs and some other components, but mostly they were like on the React hooks. There were some tests, but they were kind of not really like useful to anybody. So I had to scrap them almost completely. They were just checking. Basically, they were using mock data, and they were just checking if the data was there, and mocking functions from the Redux funcs or actions, and they were checking if the functions were called, but nothing about the application itself, if it was working properly. So I started studying a little like how the various libraries were working with Jest, but actually eventually for this unit test, but integration tests, React testing library has the majority of the wins for now. So I started applying it. We opened quite a bunch of tickets on how to write for the writing tests all around the application, like different pages. So the approach starting being okay, if we have to evaluate some new feature, let's evaluate it considering adding the test directly into the new feature. And for the old legacy code, let's add some new ticket and work on them separately, having some good time separately. Luckily, we have a good management that allowed us to give some proper time for solving tech debt, because it was a huge tech debt when we came in. Once I did that, there was a grade of library, and I remember what was that, and I realized that the majority of libraries, they were not updated for the past 3 years. So if you had to update something, everything was breaking up basically. So we had to do some big refactory on that. And that's when I started implementing anyway React testing library, and I started reading the documentation and coming into the problems there as well, because there were some ways I was studying in these past years Epic React by Kent Dodds. So there was a part of about testing as well, and I read. I write very good blog posts about testing as well. So I was reading them, and they seemed everything very simple, to use. So I started applying it, and eventually, it was simple, but to make it the correct way, the simple way, you have to understand how really this thing works. And so it was a little frustrating in the beginning, because I could manage to render the components. That was not a big deal, but to test properly, the parts of the components, or to understand how to test in a sensible way, right? Not to test something because we have to write a test, but because something could break in the future, so we have to write something about about it. And as React testing library works, we don't want to test the implementation details, so nothing about changing the pages, but I had to test the change of routing. So that was a different thing, because we had to integrate the different libraries to test the routing and to test how the components was behaving and the pages were behaving. So we started having this different approach, new features means writing tests on it, after they start the feature, writing tests for it, and otherwise just part of the tech debt, so apart from it.
Mm-hmm. So you would say your advice to people would be write tests from the beginning. Don't leave it till later.
Well, that's the common knowledge, common good way to do things. But as I said, there was my previous project, previous to this one, it was very poorly managed project, and there was just barely enough time to do the features. So there was zero time to think about even do tests. Tech debt, well, it was a new project, so there was no tech debt because I had to build an application from scratch. So there was also the big thing. It was Next.js, so that helped not to having unforeseen things, at least, because you have some logic that works, behind the hood, like routing and so on. So you don't have to really test that too much. But this new project I'm working with, current project, it's in pure React, create a React application. So along the way, we had to change many things, and you have to test properly the things because libraries get updated. We changed everything from Webpack to Vite, and so we had to change the library from Jest to Vitest as well. So a few things changed as well there. Not that many, but a few things improved, of course, but there were much work to do as well. So testing first. Sometimes Jest was very slow, so it was kind of difficult to test the things properly after the features. Vitess is much faster from that point of view. You have to define as well the workers, how they work and so on, to make it speedy enough. But eventually we came to a point in which, because we used as well Scrum methodology with sprints and so on, everything was getting accumulated to the end of the sprint. So our QA was a little overwhelmed at the end of the sprint. So I don't know, I'm experimenting in kind of different way of how to do these things. So I will develop the feature, and I will open a pull request with just the feature, so the tech lead can code review it. And meanwhile, I will start working on the tests, and if everything goes well, I can pass the test PR to the tech lead afterwards, so it doesn't have, so the feature can go to QA, not so late last moment, say. And if I find something going wrong in the test, then I can pull back the previous tickets. Not ideal. It should be in the same ticket story or whatever, but at least we are testing some saving time. But definitely with the feature, if you have the possibility, definitely. I found there were many cases in which I found bugs writing the test, so that I couldn't find before. So yes, totally.
Very cool. Yeah, I agree. It's interesting that you mentioned that the fact that some of the older projects didn't contain tests was because of bad management. I wonder how many people realize that that's often the case. It's just that the project isn't managed well, and so testing is never taken into account. And so that's why tests just never happen. It's not because the developers don't want to write the tests. It's literally because the way the project is run, there's just never time to write the tests.
Yeah.
You're just running from one feature to the next.
Yes. It's good now because with Copilot and ChatGPT anyway, I also speed up like the writing tests like 90%. So I could before I have to think about it, I can write like all the tests that I have to do, and I'll start developing them and so on. The structure can be similar to different pages, components, but still. And now since recently, like for the past couple of months, I started writing maybe tests in the first draft by ChatGPT, just giving them the inputs and the component, and I could write a first draft of the test that I have to do, and say not always working. Sometimes they do weird things and so on, so I have to triple check them, and I have to change many things because it's also like sometimes they write useless tests anyway. Doesn't matter, but it's a very good input, like just to start the work when you have to write some tests. So I can write the title, or also you can sometimes Copilot can write the title actually of the test. And I also Copilot started using just 1 month ago or something, but like I'm a late arrival for that. So that I sped up. So I think this will be very helpful for all the companies, because you can use like half the time to write them, and you can at least have like maybe not all the tests, because sometimes tests require some complicated stuff to do in the middle. I was just writing tests for some search component, and sometimes it was getting a little crazy to understand how I would implement the testing with that, with the bouncing, memoizing, and things. But that is good, because it will improve the code quality eventually. Like you can write some tests, you spend maybe 1 day like optimizing the tests, correcting them, and finish them off basically, instead of 3-4 days. So that's good.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. So I also saw that you try to help early stage developers where you can, which is great. What advice do you have for others just starting out in their career?
Yeah, one important thing, especially now how the market is. I saw that market change like so many times. Like I was lucky to get my first junior job during at the start of the COVID pandemic. That was like a good shot of luck, because there was a time when many people were being laid off already at the time, even my previous company. So as like I read many places, not so many maybe, but I think it should be highlighted that it doesn't really matter if you start the job as a junior developer already, but you can even start like as a service desk or tech support or application support or whatever it is, or starting from testing, like from QA. I understand that I'm not sure about the requirements for a junior QA, what they are, because I never look into it. But there are plenty of resources, courses that you can make you like in QA, and the QA is also good because not only you can maybe you don't have access to the code directly, but you can ask the developers, you can study in the meanwhile, and also like we're doing our QA, they are developing like automation tests with WebDriver or Selenium, whatever it is, but it's kind of small programming, but you have to write programming, basically functions and stuff like that. Maybe not everything, like if you use maybe some other tools that I saw, like Playwright, I think you can do it on the browser directly. But a WebDriver, you have to write the code. So we have one repo that can do all the automation tests. So like it's a good starting point as well if they're still hiring for QAs. And but also like even other applications, like other kind of jobs, like as I said, application support or anything like that, like it's still fine. The entrance is difficult. Like even when I was working as application support, I got into a senior position. And then when I applied as a developer, I had to start as a junior again. So it's like as everything I did in my life, right? But you don't start as a junior from scratch. But you start from a junior from knowing already the industry. So you know the procedures. Maybe if you have Agile or Scrum, you know about how this works already. If you have some other technical position, you definitely will use databases. You use shell scripting or something like that. Shell scripting is definitely difficult programming language anyway. So yeah, any entry position is like that, and they will give you definitely an advantage when the market maybe will go better. Like you can apply definitely for junior dev jobs already. But you can apply as well for like other kind of technical positions that give you the possibility to improve your skills. If you work in a normal service desk, 100%, maybe not that much because you will just like, you know, do scripted work, say, like prescripted, like communication work, yes, but not so much technical skills. But if it's already like, as I said, like in the beginning, I was working somehow partially in service desk, partially incident management, partially other things, and it gave me the time to study. And so, yes, it was good anyway. Just don't be stuck there too much time. Maybe if you want to program.
Yeah, that's good advice. So I was curious. Do you think there's a benefit for early stage developers to take the time to learn things like Agile and Scrum, even before they have a job?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, when I started, I didn't know anything about it, and when I started in Moravio, where I work now, I think they asked me if I had any knowledge about this, and I said, well, actually, in the last month, we had for the first time a Scrum Master, and I understood something about it, but apart from that, zero. So, and yeah, they hired me anyway. So after that, I went from the first project, big project that I work now. I had a very, very bad, not only management, but also like a Scrum Master and so on. So the sprints were kind of a mess. So I really didn't understand how it was working. Everything was kind of improvised. And now instead, I am in this team, which is kind of like very, very, very good. The Scrum Master is great, and the team is great, and everything is like discussed and reviewed, and everything is evolving all the time. So even if you study about it without the real experience, I don't think that you really get why you do that. But it's definitely worth having the basic to understand what is it and why the companies are doing it. I'm not so much into Scrum as like meetings that much. Like it's like more a favorite to say async, like written dailies and stuff like that. But we are doing like a normal remote call anyway. So there's plenty of knowledge now that wasn't at the time. I think when I started. Maybe there was, but maybe I didn't care about it that much. They didn't know about it actually, because now there is more there is more freedom of sharing these things. Also on Twitter, maybe still not much, but there are blog posts talking about it from other developers, because this is a thing that I think many people just don't like. Developers, so they usually don't write about it maybe that much, or just maybe they don't consider it worth it to write about it. But I think it's not the thing that you have the sprints and okay, you have 2 weeks or 1 month or 1 week and you have to finish the things and so on. But I think it was more about the concept of estimating how much time maybe one thing will take you, and how much effort will take you one thing. And if you do 2 weeks work, like you have to understand what was good and what was not good for the team, for the client, and so on and so forth, which normally, like many developers I see, and I was myself as well, maybe in the beginning, say, okay, like I don't know what to say. Actually, it was good, the sprint was good, the sprint was not good, but eventually, actually, when I started understand and learn from other senior devs, what why we are doing that, and why we have to think about it to become more a senior, right? And things starting popping up in the mind, like well, maybe I should have said that, and so on. Like I can propose that, maybe I can improve this thing. Maybe this one was good, but there was this particular detail that maybe I didn't like that much. And of course, it's very good that we have a good Scrum Master, so all the discussion, good team members, so the discussions are very open and transparent, and everybody is okay with each other. If you have people like that, the other developers in which you have maybe some problems, like then it's more difficult to do these things, and it becomes very boring and useless. So the concepts are good to understand for a junior dev, not for me mandatory, because it's a thing that you learn on the job and you learn by experience on how to do them better. But I mean, reading Wikipedia, what is it about? Like, I think it's more than enough for me, at least. Starting a junior dev.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree that you should have a basic understanding of what it is and why. But yeah, until you do it, it's really hard to understand what it's all about. So I spoke to another guest on the podcast a while ago that had a background in psychology, and I posed a question to him around that, and I have a similar question to ask to you. So you've had a very winding road, and you did all kinds of things, and you moved around to different countries and worked and did different jobs until where you've landed now. So I'm curious, the jobs you've had that wasn't tech related. So I'm thinking the stuff you did like in the humanistic field, journalism, those kinds of jobs that you had. Is there anything from those jobs that you've kept, that you've learned, lessons you've learned doing that has helped you as you moved into tech and programming?
Definitely the writing. And as I said in the beginning, the communication. I mean, there are the other developers which they have the normal technical background, and they are communicating as well as me, so that's fine. I just enjoy it more, maybe like to write. Maybe one thing that I could start, maybe because I like to write a lot, and but fiction as well. Like I wrote a book in Italian as well, but then I stopped completely. And then since I started developing, or maybe a little later on, when I became more self-confident, say, I started blogging about tech stuff, or I mean, developing stuff anyway, JavaScript mostly. So that is kind of a hobby / passion that it came all the way along since university time. Also, because it's a passion, like I'm doing it just for myself, for people who's interested, but really not much for money, at least now. I don't know in the future, but at least for now. And then I think that every experience that you have in life anyway brings you some addition to the next thing that you have. So everything added something until I got here. So my previous company, this company, chose me because they liked how I was reasoning, and how I'm reasoning is basically the sum of all the experiences that I had in the past. So the diversity, in my case, it's like the diversity of experiences and cultures, definitely brought me some advantage on working on a multicultural team, because now I'm working with mostly are Czechs, but we have the other two developers are from Turkey, and then we have one. Now it's the guy from Poland and another guy from Bosnia. So that definitely helps in case, like, seeing how the other people are reacting, working, and so you learn to how to have this multicultural way of thinking. So every time you start having some discussion, I have, like, this thing that I just, if it goes like until a point in which it can become a little hot, I can just stop and try to think like what the other person is thinking. Because like I understand that this guy is getting a little too out of hand, so I'm trying to understand, like, okay, this guy like is maybe, or this person is like thinking this way, so I'm thinking the other way, so let's just calm down the moment and just go back a little.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think today it's really important to be able to work in teams that is very diverse, because we've all recognized the benefits of diverse teams. It makes the product better. It makes everything better, essentially, because you have so many different viewpoints. It's not everybody that's just thinking about it in exactly the same way. So, in the beginning, when you were talking about especially the work you did when you were still doing like service desk and that kind of stuff, you touched on the thing that a lot of it was shift work, and a lot of it was like, so 4 days you'd have like 12 hours in the morning during the day, and then you'll have a little bit of a break, and then you'll have days where you're working basically through the night. That obviously takes a toll on a person. It's not really a sustainable way. Do you find that you have found a more work-life balance now?
Yeah, totally. I'm thinking that, like, I can't like think how to do the same things that I'm doing now back before, like when I was working like in office, and with these timings especially. Of course, there is lots of people that still doing it, but I am happy that I did that in the beginning when I didn't have a kid, because like otherwise it's very, very difficult, and it's manageable. You have to do it, you do it basically. But and even up with a kid, like with normal life, I was going to office anyway at the time. It was it was starting COVID, but we came into the summer, so the COVID here in Czech Republic was not that much, so people were going to office anyway, sometimes with a mask or no, but anyway. And so I was going to office and I was coming back, and I was going, it was like still a small city, and I was living already outside the city, but 30 minutes, say, with traffic, sometimes 45 minutes going and 45 back, so it was a 1 hour and a half. And with the, first of all, when I started with this company, Moravio, like with remote working, like definitely everything changed, because getting starting to work at 9, finishing at 5, and I was already with a kid all the time, or cooking or doing something anyway. So lots of stress, less stress. I have less time to listen to podcasts actually now than before, because I was listening to when I was in the car. Sometimes when I do some exercise, maybe I listen to it, and when I wash dishes, I try to put my headphones on and these things. But apart from that, like, it's totally much improved. It's definitely like a privileged field, this one, because I mean, also an application support. I know some people now that are working remotely with they have like 4 or 5 screens at home, like in a desk or something like that.
Wow.
But still, you have to do the shifts at home with the 4 or 5 screens in one room, maybe with a kid or something. It's really complicated. Like in that part, maybe remote working is not that good, because I don't know, it's kind of you don't manage to get out basically from.
Yeah.
But from my point of view, one important thing I think is that I'm working already as a, say, intermediate position, like not junior, not senior, like in the middle, middle way. So I don't know if starting as a junior dev would be better now as a remote or in office, actually, because I enjoyed a lot like having the conversations like screen by screen, like when I was working as a junior with the other tech lead. But I think it's manageable even now. It's a little more difficult if you have to do some pair programming maybe. But I don't know that part because I didn't experiment it. But I think it's good that some companies are offering hybrids, but I think the hybrid should not be 3 days home and 2 days in office, but either you choose basically stay in office or stay home, because that's not that complicated to organize it, I think. But that's because some people really enjoyed it much more in office, and that's fine, and enjoyed it much more in remote working. In the beginning it was difficult. In the beginning it was difficult when the COVID was strong and everybody was home. It was difficult to isolate from the family and everything that was going around. But eventually, slowly, we found a balance. And of course, you have to have your own room to work because otherwise you're screwed. But I think we found a balance, and now I can manage to work, take my breaks, stay in the breaks with a kid or do something. So it's good. It's very good. But I have to go out sometimes.
That's great to hear. Yeah, for sure. In closing, I saw, maybe this won't be in closing. Maybe maybe this is a positive thing. Let's see. I saw that there was parts of last year that was rough for you. I'm sorry to hear that. But I did read that meditation was an important tool that you used to help you deal with the challenges. What is it about meditation that helped you, and what advice do you have for others going through a rough time? I think it's very apt right now with all the people being laid off in tech.
Yeah, that's also a good question. Meditation, I'm doing it for the past 15 years. So it's something that helped me all around the various things that I did in my life anyway. Generally speaking, it's helping me with the work, in any ways, because I'm getting maybe stressed out sometimes in the day, as everybody, but doing in the morning and in the evening before going to bed, allows me to just take off everything that I got stressed about during the day and just having a peaceful sleep. That helped me a lot during the night shifts as well, because it was a little more difficult to get a routine on that. But that's the reason. One of the reasons why, I think I got a good enough, at least for 2 years, balance, not to get crazy doing all these changes in the shifts, because it's basically going through changing time zones, going to, let's say, from Europe to US or to Asia, every 10 days, basically, because that's how it works with the brain. So I was able eventually, to recuperate in maybe 2 days. So I was managing to have the last 2 days normal, normal time, and then I had anyway 4 working days, and it was fine. However, say, I don't know how to say it, but meditation definitely helped everything. It keeps you, let's say, it allows you, say, to surrender what, for example, if you would do interviews and so on, not to just stress out on the expectation of what you will receive, either good or bad, but just let it go once you have it, But at the same time, it doesn't mean that you cannot do what I did. Like just you can, do the second round of the technical project. It just means that I don't have to be so much involved into it. But I'm not talking about focusing or anything like that. I'm not doing mindfulness or these things. The meditation that I'm doing is called Sahaja Yoga. And it allows basically a spontaneous state of meditation through the energy that we have inside. And it's basically allowing us to being in the state of meditation, not just to do the meditation, but being into the meditation. And also this happens during the interviews, for example. Is enough it's not enough. Enough is not a good word. Say, I am tense in the interviews because that's how they are supposed to be. But like when I'm too much, I feel stressed out. You get like some, I don't know, you feel the stomach tense or the belly or something like that. So I'm able, because I'm doing that, I don't know how this works, to just focus myself like a little, like with my attention inside, and bring my attention to this energy, to the top of the head, here where this energy basically goes through. And I go into a state of calm, like almost immediately. And so that's how I think I managed to pass the stressful like interviews, because I'm managing like to get like not stressed out. And when you get stressed out, you start saying incorrect things or stupid things or things like that, because your brain basically goes black and or white, I should say. So yeah, it allows you to basically to get back your focus into the present moment, to the correct thing that you're doing, right? And not because what's happening during interviews and you get panic is because meanwhile the interviewer is speaking, you start thinking something else. You start thinking about what the interviewers will say if you say so, or what I remember from the last time that I read something about that. But if you manage to stay in the present moment, it's basically that you have access to the part of more access, at least, of your unconscious. And you can, if you know something is stored in the unconscious there, you can manage to speak about it calmly and not panicking and going like into the state of blank, or saying things that he didn't want to say or something like that. It's called, like, you can guess that you can call it, it's not an inspiration, it's like letting this meditation state flow within you, so that you can do the things like properly and in a calm way without too much stress. Definitely this helps. And there is for example, there are many ways to meditate. There is this website, freemeditation.com, that, for example, has many don't know, it's very, like, there are many pages in where they teach how to meditate this way, so one person can try it out and see, for example, before the interview, for example, or even during the day, trying the meditation just a little. Even if it's maybe difficult, then I said, okay, I have to do this work like 5 minutes. I cannot take 5 minutes off of my work, of my life, But eventually, if you get into the state of meditation, these 5 minutes allow you to compensate for half an hour of work that you would lose because you start thinking about something else. In some way it works the way by which many people are saying, okay, if I don't find a solution to the problem, I go out, take a walk, or I get some sleep or whatever. But which is perfectly fine. It's very good to do it. Of course, I do it as well. When I just stuck, I just go away. And the meditation allows you to be less stuck, say, and more focused into the present. To the present, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Yeah, that's great. I encourage people also to try meditation. I also do it all the time. And maybe the next time you don't think you have 5 minutes to meditate, maybe use the 5 minutes to try meditation instead of going on Twitter. I promise you it'll be better for you.
Yeah. Well, this can be done. I did it because I'm teaching that as well. So it's possible to do it online, as I said, on the website or via podcast or via anything, basically, or in presence anyway.
Yeah, 100% agree. Thanks so much, Alex. This was a really good conversation. Thank you for sharing your story and for sharing your knowledge. So have a lovely rest of your day. Have a good weekend. And I will speak to you soon. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Mycelium Network podcast. If you're not already, please subscribe, star, and leave a review for us in your podcatcher of choice. This helps others find us and helps us make a better podcast for you, our listeners. You can also find and follow us on Twitter at Network Mycelium and join the community on Discord. All the links are available in the show notes.